Hello and welcome to Simply Saturday. This is my weekly series, happens every Saturday morning, where I bring you a card idea that is fast and easy to make. As you can see, we are using some Easter products today. These are super cute. I'm excited to use these, even though we're not using all of them today. I'm excited to use a lot of these images. There also is a set of coordinating dies, so this is available as a bundle, the stamps and the dies together. We're going to be using this one little bunny die. As you can see, I've prepared it ahead of time. So I kind of have in mind where we're headed today, but I haven't actually made this exact card. So we are going to jump right in and see what we end up with. The Easter basket stamp set is new as of this spring 2026. And I already mentioned the dies. All right, so what I'm going to start with is a bunch of circles. So this paper is a package of 12 by 12 paper. It is called Easter Joy, and there are many cute springy prints in here. So let me show you a couple of these. Of course, you're going to get to see them as I use them today on our card. So there's just a few of them on the fronts. Some of the backs have a nice crumb cake print. There's a soft little blue print. All right, there's a plaid, which we're using. So a number of prints. Now, I do want to mention this paper is extra thick. This is quite a bit thicker than our normal designer series paper. And I'm not exactly sure of the reason behind that. But in saying so, there are probably some projects that I will end up making with this paper that maybe I would hesitate using the other weight DSP. So because this is heavier, I can see myself making some boxes and perhaps some little treat containers out of this paper just because it is so nice and heavy and thick. All right. Let me show you one other print that is part of this packet of paper, because this is kind of a fast and easy element. All right, so you get this sheet, you get two of them. And as you can see, you can simply cut out these panels and quickly create cards or other projects just with those pieces. They're already pre-printed and just the right shape for a card front. So there's a lot of potential, let's just say, in this packet of paper. What I wanted to do was really showcase the paper on our card today. And so I went ahead and used stylish shapes and just pre-cut a bunch of circles. So in not quite knowing how many I would need, I did, well, let's just see. I've got this print and this print. This one was left over from something else. So I cut 9 circles: the blue floral print, the Easter eggs, and the little plaid. I don't even think we're going to use all 9, but that's what I started with. Then I stamped the little bunny in crumb cake ink and went ahead and used the die to cut out the bunny. So those things have been prepared. We're going to use this scrap for our words, I'm imagining. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. My card base is Shy Shamrock, and this is 5.5 by 8.5 inches, scored at 4.25 and folded. Now my white piece, which is going to be the front panel, is 4 inches by 5.25, and that's where we're going to start. So I did make a similar card, which I will show you, with smaller circles, and that provides a whole different look. In this case, I wanted a little bit larger circle, and so we're going to play with the layout and see if we can find something that we like. Again, the idea was to use a lot of this paper because I really wanted to showcase the paper. So what I'm going to do is just begin laying my circles on here. And in my mind, I do know that I want a lot of the edges, especially the corner of my cardstock covered. So I'm going to make sure that that circle covers that corner. And let's see here. We might need to, well, we're just going to have to play with this. Let's add another one of these here. Let's see what happens if we drop this in. I don't know if we're going to need that or not. And maybe another one here. All right, so as you can see, you're just kind of playing with your circles, filling up the paper as much as you want. Um, let's see, we might need to do, let's try something very even. Let's try a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just try a 5 circle look, 5 circle pattern. So I'm covering each of the corners with my circle, and then I've got one in the middle. All right, so it's a little bit more uniform than I had imagined, but because of the size circles, I just don't want to squish some of these in there. So let's go with this and see what we end up with at the end. I'm going to go ahead and place this middle one down with my glue. All right, the idea being kind of a random background, but this is ending up being quite a bit more organized than I imagined. So that's okay. All right, let's do a center circle. The paper itself, aside from being a little bit heavier, has a beautiful foil to it. And not just the kind of the gold or the bronze, there's like a little green foil too. It's very, very pretty in person. All right, and then we're going to put our little corners on. So I'm going to leave this edge of my circle with no glue because it's actually going to hang off. Let's take a look at the other side. Okay, I want to make sure that I cover right over the white corner of my cardstock. And let's keep going. We could actually do it this way. And because now it's ending up a little bit more organized, I'm going to look at the same spacing here. Okay, let's go on with this one. Covering the corner of my white cardstock, looking at my spacing here. Might need to come in a little bit. And my final piece, like so. All right, we're going to run with this. All right, pressing these down so that they have really, really good adhesion. And then I'm going to take my scissors, and in this case, I'm not even necessarily using my craft scissors. I'm just using some big, normal office scissors. And we're just going to turn this over, and we're going to cut off anything hanging off the white cardstock. And those are sticking to the scissors a little bit just because of the glue. Not a problem. And fourth edge, here we go. Let's see, I think I'll pull these off. It was getting a little bit thick there. All right, so there we have a cute little background print focusing on those beautiful papers. All right, let's attach this to our card base because that's really going to make the green pop. Look at that. And then we'll add our finishing touches with our stamped images. All right, this is kind of thick now with all those pieces of paper on there, but we can just use our liquid glue and attach this to the front. Now, I am really, really liking these papers, and that's what I wanted to show you today. But of course, you could use whatever paper you have for these little cutout circles. All right, there we have the front of our card. Now, we've got our simple little bunny. He's stamped in crumb cake. I'm just going to take a bubble bath marker and put a little bit of pink on the cheeks and maybe a little bit of pink in the ears. That ear is flopped forward, so just one ear. You can decide if you want a little pink cottontail or just leave it white. Let's put the nose pink too. How's that? All right, now we need to decide what color ink to stamp our words in. Like I said, I think we can use this scrap. If our words will fit right here, we'll be in good shape. Let's come to our stamp set and let's see if Happy Easter fits. And if not, we'll switch to Hello Spring. Let's see. Ooh, yeah, it's just barely going to fit. We're not even going to have to trim it down hardly at all. So let's put our words on. And I think, I want to do this in Balmy Blue. All right, right across my little scrap here. In fact, I'll let you know what size this scrap is in case you need to cut a scrap. This piece measures 2 3/4 inches by 3.5 inches. And I had enough space to stamp and die cut the bunny and then also to put my words. Let me also show you what I did with my strips of paper. I cut 2.5 inch strips out of my 12 by 12 and then put my circle die on there and cut that out. So you can see, okay, the strip of paper at 2.5 inches was just wide enough to fit the circle die. That's how I got all of these circles pre-cut. All right, I'm going to take my paper trimmer and trim these words out of this scrap. And I want it really close to the words. Because it's close to the bottom here of the paper, I'm going to try to match it at the top. Like so. And then let's see what happens if we put this on a strip of pink. All right, that's going to be cute. Let's trim down our pink piece. I'm going to trim it to 3/4 of an inch. And let's take a peek and see what that looks like on the length. Okay, that looks good. And then we're just going to cut it down a little bit also. Okay, the width is really good. We're going to cut down the length just a teeny bit. So what I recommend, since I didn't do any measuring on this, is I'm just going to go ahead and glue my words right onto my pink mat, having the left side right where I want it, and then we'll trim the right side to match. Okay, so we just need to trim a little bit off of this edge, and we've got our words. Now, if you'd like to know the finished size of this, I can tell you that the pink piece is 3 inches long, and we went 3/4 of an inch wide, and then the Happy Easter fits right on top of that. All right, let's play with our placement, and then we'll see how we're going to finish. That is looking really cute against those little patterns. So if we did it this way, then our bunny would go here. That's one option. We could place the bunny here, which I'm liking as well. And the words centered or dropped down. Having a hard time deciding because they're both cute. So let's go ahead and put the bunny there. And I think that I will just put regular glue on the bunny. Like so. And then let's pop this up with some dimensionals. And it's kind of long, so let's use 3 so that it doesn't sag in the middle. And then I want to show you some adorable little embellishments that we'll use to finish this off. And then I'll show you another 2 cards with the same idea of a card layout. Okay, there's our cute little bunny and the words. We were torn between right there or lower, right? Let's take a peek if we wanted to go lower. Okay, I'm going to put it a little bit lower. It's right where the little paw is from that bunny. All right, that looks better to me. And then these embellishments are called Easter Assortment. And look at, they're super cute. The yellow and the blue look like, if you remember, candy dots. That used to be those little dots of sugar candy that you would peel off the paper. That's what those look like to me. And then the pink ones are actually little Easter eggs. Very cute. So we need to decide where we're going to put these. One idea is just to maybe add one here by the words, or because we've got some white space, we could sprinkle them around. I'm really not sure. So I'm going to start with one of the little eggs and just take a peek at what that might look like right here. Okay. I don't know that I want anything on my white background now that I've got that all right where I want it. How about that? Let's put our egg there. And let's take a blue. I'm thinking of 3 things. So let's take our blue. You know, I'm totally second guessing it, and I think I'm just going to stop there. I'm afraid that this little tag is too small to have 3 embellishments on it. So I'm very happy with that little egg, and I think we'll just leave it. I'm going to put this back on the backing sheet for another project, and we are going to leave that. Okay, we need something for the inside of the card, and so let me grab a white panel. This is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4 to do a little something with the inside. And back to the stamp set, there's a number of cute little choices. And so I think that I will use the small bunny. And because we have the balmy blue ink pad out, let's just go ahead and put a little bunny in blue on the inside panel, just to put a little something there. All right, let's glue this to the inside of the card, and let me show you the other 2 that I prepared for you to be able to see. All right, that's cute. That's the inside, and there is our cute little Easter card. All right, here's the other one that I did with the same idea in mind. This time the circles are more random, as you can see. So these are not quite aligned in the same configuration. I used some different stamps, and I used 3 of those cute little elements. So there's another version. Here's the one we made together. And then I had some plaid paper. Let me see if I have that sitting here. The timeless plaid that I was going to play with. And I did the card with a 1.5 inch circle punch. All right, so instead of a die, I used a circle punch, punched out a bunch of circles, and created this, perhaps for a Father's Day card or a man's birthday. All right, very random pattern with those circles, some words, some little rustic dots, and you get a totally different look. All right, so back to our card from today, our Happy Easter card. And I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making it. These papers are lovely, the stamps are adorable, and I hope you'll try this card layout soon. Thanks for watching.